Your mind is the most powerful force in your life, yet most people have never learned how to truly master it. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, and every mental pattern you repeat is either moving you toward the life you want or keeping you trapped in cycles of limitation. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to take complete control of your mind in just 30 days. Imagine waking up every morning with absolute clarity about your purpose. Picture having unshakable confidence that doesn't waver when challenges arise. Envision being able to focus so deeply that distractions become powerless against you. Think about having such mastery over your emotions that nothing can knock you off course from your goals. This isn't fantasy. This is what becomes possible when you master your mind. The techniques I'm about to share with you have been used by the most successful people throughout history, backed by cutting-edge neuroscience, and proven to create lasting transformation in just 30 days. But here's what you need to understand right now. Your current mental patterns didn't develop overnight, and they won't disappear overnight either. However, with the right system, the right practices, and the right commitment, you can completely rewire your brain and transform your life faster than you ever thought possible. The next 30 days will be a journey of profound transformation. You're not just going to learn techniques. You're going to become a completely different person. Someone who thinks differently, feels differently, and creates different results. Are you ready to master your mind and unlock your true potential? Let's begin. Chapter 1. Understanding your mental programming. Your mind operates like a computer, running programs that were installed years ago. Most of these programs were written during your childhood, when your brain was like a sponge, absorbing every experience, every word, and every emotion around you. The problem is, many of these programs are outdated, limiting, and completely misaligned with the life you want to create today. Think about it. The beliefs you have about money, relationships, success, and even your own capabilities were largely formed before you were 7 years old. These beliefs became the operating system of your mind, running automatically in the background, influencing every decision you make and every action you take. When someone tells you that you're not smart enough, that money is hard to come by, or that success requires struggle, these ideas don't just bounce off you. They get absorbed into your subconscious mind, where they become part of your identity. From that moment forward, your mind starts looking for evidence to support these beliefs, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that keeps you stuck in the same patterns year after year. This is why positive thinking alone doesn't work. You can tell yourself you're confident all day long, but if your subconscious mind is programmed with beliefs of inadequacy, those deeper programs will always win. It's like trying to install new software on a computer without removing the old, corrupted files. The system will keep crashing. But here's the incredible news. Your brain has something called neuroplasticity. This means it can literally rewire itself at any age. Every time you think a new thought, feel a new emotion, or take a new action, you're creating new neural pathways in your brain. With repetition, these new pathways become stronger, while the old, limiting pathways begin to weaken and eventually disappear. The process of mental mastery is really about becoming aware of your current programming, deciding which programs serve you and which ones need to be deleted, and then systematically installing new, empowering programs that align with the life you want to create. Your current reality is simply a reflection of your current mental programming. If you want to change your reality, you must change your programming. This isn't just about mindset. It's about fundamentally rewiring your brain to think, feel, and behave like the person you want to become. The beautiful thing about this process is that once you understand how your mind works, you can start making changes immediately. You don't have to wait for permission from anyone else. You don't need special credentials or years of therapy. You just need to understand the mechanics of how thoughts become things, how beliefs shape reality, and how you can consciously direct this process. Over the next 30 days, we're going to systematically upgrade your mental programming. We're going to identify the limiting beliefs that have been holding you back. Install new, empowering beliefs that support your goals and create daily practices that reinforce these new patterns until they become automatic. By the end of this journey, your mind will no longer be something that happens to you. It will be something you actively control and direct. You'll think like a master, feel like a master, and create results like a master. This is your time to take control. Chapter 2. The Power of Conscious Awareness. The first step to mastering your mind is developing conscious awareness of what's actually happening in your mental space. Most people live their entire lives on autopilot, completely unconscious of the thousands of thoughts flowing through their minds every day. They react to life instead of responding to it, allowing their conditioned patterns to run the show. Conscious awareness is like turning on the lights in a dark room. Suddenly, you can see what's actually there, instead of stumbling around in the darkness. When you become aware of your thoughts, you gain the power to change them. When you become aware of your emotions, you can choose how to respond instead of being controlled by them. Right now, as you're listening to this, there are probably dozens of thoughts running through your mind. Some of them are related to what I'm saying, but others might be about what you need to do later, something that happened yesterday, or worries about the future. This constant mental chatter is what keeps most people trapped in unconscious patterns. The practice of conscious awareness begins with simply noticing what's happening in your mind without judgment. You're not trying to stop the thoughts or change them yet. You're just becoming aware of them. It's like sitting by a river and watching the water flow by. You notice each thought as it passes through your consciousness, but you don't get caught up in it or carried away by it. This might sound simple, but it's actually revolutionary. The moment you can observe your thoughts, you realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness that observes the thoughts. This distinction is crucial because it means you have the power to choose which thoughts to engage with and which ones to let pass by. Most people identify completely with their thoughts. When they have a fearful thought, they become fearful. When they have an angry thought, they become angry. But when you develop conscious awareness, you realize that thoughts are just mental events, like clouds passing through the sky. You can observe them without being controlled by them. This practice also extends to your emotions. Instead of saying, "I am angry," you can say, "I notice that anger is present." This subtle shift in language reflects a profound shift in consciousness. You're no longer identified with the emotion. You're the aware presence that observes it. Conscious awareness also involves becoming aware of your patterns. You start to notice that certain situations trigger certain thoughts, which trigger certain emotions, which lead to certain behaviors. You begin to see the entire chain reaction that has been running your life unconsciously. For example, you might notice that every time someone criticizes you, you immediately have thoughts of inadequacy, which make you feel defensive, which causes you to either withdraw or attack. Once you're aware of this pattern, you can intervene at any point in the chain and choose a different response. The practice of conscious awareness is like becoming the CEO of your own mind. Instead of letting the employees run wild, you're taking charge and making conscious decisions about which thoughts to entertain, which emotions to cultivate, and which actions to take. This awareness needs to be cultivated throughout the day, not just during meditation or quiet moments. You can practice it while walking, while working, while having conversations, while eating. Every moment is an opportunity to strengthen your awareness and reclaim your power. The more you practice conscious awareness, the more space you create between stimulus and response. Instead of automatically reacting to life, you begin to respond from a place of conscious choice. This is where true freedom begins. Over the next few days, your primary focus will be on developing this foundational skill of conscious awareness. Without it, all other techniques for mental mastery will be built on shaky ground. But with it, you'll have the solid foundation needed to transform every aspect of your mental experience. Chapter 3. Breaking Free from Limiting Beliefs. Limiting beliefs are perhaps the most powerful force keeping you from the life you desire. These are the deeply held convictions about yourself, other people, and the world that create invisible boundaries around what you think is possible. They operate like mental prisons, keeping you confined to a small fraction of your true potential. The insidious nature of limiting beliefs is that they feel absolutely true. They're not just thoughts. They're convictions backed by years of evidence that your mind has collected to support them. If you believe you're not good enough, your mind will highlight every failure and downplay every success. If you believe money is hard to come by, you'll notice every financial struggle and miss every opportunity for abundance. These beliefs were often formed during moments of emotional intensity, usually in childhood. Maybe a teacher told you that you weren't smart. A parent said money doesn't grow on trees. Or a peer made you feel like you didn't belong. In that moment of vulnerability, these ideas got encoded into your subconscious mind as absolute truth. The challenge is that limiting beliefs don't announce themselves. They don't say, "Hello, I'm a limiting belief and I'm here to sabotage your success." Instead, they masquerade as reality, as common sense, as just the way things are. This is why so many people remain stuck in the same patterns year after year, never realizing that their biggest obstacle isn't external circumstances but internal beliefs. Common limiting beliefs include variations of "I'm not good enough," "I don't deserve," "success," "I'm too old," "I'm too young," "I don't have enough education," "People like me don't succeed," "Money corrupts people," "Relationships always end in pain," "I'm not talented enough," and countless others. Each of these beliefs acts like a filter, determining what you notice, how you interpret events, and what actions you take. The process of identifying limiting beliefs requires honest self-examination. You need to look at the areas of your life where you feel stuck, frustrated, or unfulfilled, and ask yourself what beliefs might be creating these experiences. Often, the beliefs that limit us most are the ones we've never questioned because they seem so obviously true. One powerful technique for uncovering limiting beliefs is to pay attention to your automatic thoughts when you consider pursuing a big goal or dream. If you think about starting a business, what thoughts immediately arise? If you imagine finding your perfect partner, what doubts surface? If you consider achieving financial freedom, what fears come up? These automatic responses often reveal the limiting beliefs operating beneath the surface. Another way to identify limiting beliefs is to examine your results. If you consistently struggle in a particular area of life despite genuine effort, there's likely a limiting belief creating that pattern. Your external reality is always a reflection of your internal beliefs. So, areas of persistent struggle usually indicate areas where limiting beliefs are active. Once you've identified a limiting belief, the next step is to challenge its validity. Just because you've believed something for years doesn't make it true. Just because other people believe it doesn't make it true. Just because you have evidence supporting it doesn't make it universally true. The question isn't whether you can find evidence for your limiting belief. The question is whether believing it serves your highest good. For every limiting belief, you can find counterexamples. For every person who believes success is impossible without a college degree, there are countless successful entrepreneurs who never graduated. For every person who believes they're too old to change careers, there are others who reinvented themselves at 50, 60, or 70. The evidence for limitation and the evidence for possibility both exist. The question is which one you choose to focus on. The process of replacing limiting beliefs involves consciously choosing new, empowering beliefs and then gathering evidence to support them. If you've believed you're not good enough, you can choose to believe you're constantly growing and improving. If you've believed money is scarce, you can choose to believe that opportunities for abundance are everywhere. But changing beliefs isn't just an intellectual exercise. Because beliefs are encoded with emotion, they must be changed with emotion as well. You need to feel the truth of your new beliefs, not just think them. This is where visualization, affirmations, and emotional techniques become crucial. The goal isn't to become delusionally positive, but to adopt beliefs that are both realistic and empowering. Instead of believing you'll become a millionaire overnight, you might believe that you're capable of learning the skills necessary to create financial abundance. Instead of believing you'll never face challenges, you might believe that you can handle whatever life brings your way. Breaking free from limiting beliefs is ongoing work. As you grow and evolve, new beliefs may surface that need to be examined and potentially updated. The key is to remain curious and questioning, never accepting a belief simply because it's familiar or comfortable. Your beliefs are not facts. They're choices. And when you consciously choose beliefs that support your growth, happiness, and success, you literally rewire your brain to create different results in your life. Chapter 4. Reprogramming. Your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is like a vast, powerful computer that processes millions of pieces of information every second, controls your automatic bodily functions, stores your memories, and most importantly, runs the programs that determine your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. While your conscious mind can focus on only a few things at once, your subconscious mind is always working, always active, always influencing your experience of life. The subconscious mind doesn't think or reason the way your conscious mind does. It simply follows the programming it has received, much like a computer follows its code. This programming consists of beliefs, habits, memories, and emotional patterns that have been repeated so many times they've become automatic. The challenge is that much of this programming was installed without your conscious consent, often during childhood when your mind was most impressionable. Understanding how to reprogram your subconscious mind is crucial for lasting change, because this is where real transformation happens. You can use willpower and conscious effort to change your behavior temporarily, but unless you change the underlying programming, you'll eventually revert to your old patterns. This is why so many people struggle with maintaining new habits or breaking old ones. The subconscious mind learns through repetition, emotion, and visualization. It doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined, which is why vivid mental imagery can be so powerful for creating change. When you repeatedly visualize yourself succeeding, feeling confident, or achieving your goals, your subconscious mind begins to accept these images as reality and starts working to make them true. One of the most effective ways to reprogram your subconscious mind is through the use of affirmations. But not just any affirmations. The affirmations that work are those that are repeated consistently, charged with emotion, and aligned with clear mental imagery. Simply saying, "I am successful," while feeling unsuccessful and visualizing failure will not create change. The affirmation must be supported by the appropriate emotional state and mental imagery. The key to effective affirmations is to craft statements that feel believable and emotionally compelling. Instead of saying, "I am a millionaire" when you're struggling financially, you might say, "I am developing the skills and mindset of a wealthy person," or "I am attracting opportunities for financial growth." These statements are more believable and therefore more likely to be accepted by your subconscious mind. Timing is also crucial for subconscious reprogramming. The most effective times to work with your subconscious mind are during the transitional states between waking and sleeping. In the morning, as you're emerging from sleep, and in the evening, as you're drifting off to sleep, your brainwaves are in the alpha and theta states, which make your subconscious mind more receptive to new programming. Another powerful technique for subconscious reprogramming is visualization combined with feeling. When you visualize your desired outcomes while simultaneously generating the emotions you would feel if those outcomes were already real, you create a powerful imprint in your subconscious mind. The key is to make the visualization as vivid and detailed as possible, engaging all your senses and emotions. Repetition is absolutely essential for subconscious reprogramming. Your current patterns were created through thousands of repetitions over many years. To create new patterns, you need to repeat your new programming consistently until it becomes stronger than the old programming. This is why successful mental mastery requires daily practice, not occasional effort. Environmental cues can also support subconscious reprogramming. Surrounding yourself with visual reminders of your goals, playing audio programs that reinforce your desired beliefs, and creating physical environments that support your new identity all help to reinforce the new programming at a subconscious level. It's important to understand that your subconscious mind is goal-oriented, but it doesn't distinguish between positive and negative goals. If you constantly worry about failure, your subconscious mind will work to create failure. If you constantly visualize success, it will work to create success. This is why it's crucial to be intentional about what you feed your subconscious mind. The process of subconscious reprogramming also involves clearing out old, limiting programming. This can be done through techniques like meditation, which helps to quiet the conscious mind and access deeper levels of awareness, and through emotional release techniques that help to discharge the emotional charge attached to old, limiting beliefs. One powerful method for subconscious reprogramming is the creation of detailed mental movies of your ideal life. Instead of just thinking about your goals, you create elaborate visualizations where you see yourself living your ideal life in vivid detail. You see the places you live, the work you do, the relationships you have, and most importantly, you feel the emotions associated with living this life. The subconscious mind is also highly influenced by the language you use, both internally and externally. The words you speak to yourself and others are continuously programming your subconscious mind. This is why it's important to be mindful of your self-talk and to consciously choose language that supports your goals and desired identity. Consistency is more important than intensity when it comes to subconscious reprogramming. It's better to do 10 minutes of focused visualization and affirmations every day than to do 2 hours once a week. The daily repetition creates the neural pathways that become your new automatic patterns. Remember that your subconscious mind is always listening, always learning, and always adapting. Every thought you think, every word you speak, and every image you visualize is programming your subconscious mind in some way. When you become conscious of this process and take deliberate control of it, you gain the power to literally reprogram yourself for success, happiness, and fulfillment. Chapter 5. Mastering your inner dialogue. The conversation you have with yourself throughout the day is perhaps the most influential factor in determining the quality of your life. This inner dialogue, also known as self-talk, shapes your beliefs, influences your emotions, determines your actions, and ultimately creates your reality. Most people are completely unconscious of this ongoing internal conversation, which means they're allowing their minds to run wild with thoughts that often work against their best interests. Your inner dialogue consists of approximately 60, 0 to 70, 0 thoughts per day, and research suggests that for most people, about 80% of these thoughts are negative and 95% are repetitive. This means that most people are unconsciously running the same negative mental programs day after day, year after year, wondering why their lives don't change. The quality of your inner dialogue determines the quality of your life because your subconscious mind believes everything you tell it. When you repeatedly tell yourself that you're not good enough, that life is hard, or that success is impossible for you, your subconscious mind accepts these statements as truth and works to make them reality. Conversely, when you consistently tell yourself that you're capable, that opportunities are everywhere, and that you're destined for success, your subconscious mind works to support these beliefs. The first step in mastering your inner dialogue is becoming aware of it. Most self-talk happens so automatically that people don't even realize they're doing it. You need to develop the habit of catching yourself in the act of thinking, particularly during moments of stress, challenge, or decision-making. These are the times when your automatic patterns are most likely to surface. Common patterns of negative self-talk include catastrophizing, where you imagine the worst possible outcomes; personalizing, where you blame yourself for things that aren't your fault; black and white thinking, where you see situations as all good or all bad, with no middle ground; and mind reading, where you assume you know what others are thinking about you. These patterns create unnecessary stress, limit your options, and keep you stuck in cycles of negativity. The goal isn't to eliminate all negative thoughts, which is impossible and even counterproductive. The goal is to become conscious of your self-talk, so you can evaluate whether it's serving you or sabotaging you. When you catch yourself engaging in negative self-talk, you can ask yourself questions like, is this thought helpful? Is this thought true? How is this thought making me feel? And what would I rather think instead? Positive self-talk isn't about denying reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing thoughts that empower you rather than thoughts that defeat you. Instead of thinking, I always mess up, you might think, I'm learning and improving. Instead of, this is impossible, you might think, this is challenging, but I can figure it out. Instead of, I'm not smart enough, you might think, I can learn what I need to know. One powerful technique for improving your inner dialogue is to speak to yourself the way you would speak to your best friend. Most people are far more critical and harsh with themselves than they would ever be with someone they care about. If your best friend made a mistake, you would likely offer encouragement and support, not criticism and condemnation. You can learn to offer yourself the same kindness and compassion. Another effective approach is to develop an inner coach rather than an inner critic. Instead of constantly pointing out what's wrong, your inner coach looks for what's working, what can be improved, and what possibilities exist. Your inner coach asks questions like, "What can I learn from this? How can I do better next time?" And "What opportunity does this situation present?" The language you use in your inner dialogue is crucial because words carry emotional weight and create specific mental images. Words like should, must, and have to create pressure and stress, while words like choose, want, and get to create a sense of empowerment and possibility. Words like always and never create rigid thinking, while words like sometimes and in this situation create flexibility and options. Affirmations can be a powerful tool for reshaping your inner dialogue, but they must be used correctly. Simply repeating positive statements that you don't believe will not create change and may even create resistance. Effective affirmations are believable, emotionally engaging, and repeated consistently until they become automatic. They should feel like a natural evolution of your current thinking rather than a complete contradiction of it. It's also important to address the emotional component of self-talk. Thoughts and emotions are interconnected. Changing your thoughts can change your emotions, and changing your emotions can change your thoughts. When you're feeling anxious or discouraged, it's much harder to maintain positive self-talk. This is why techniques for emotional regulation, such as deep breathing, meditation, and physical exercise, are important complements to working with your inner dialogue. The practice of mindfulness can be particularly helpful for mastering your inner dialogue because it allows you to observe your thoughts without being caught up in them. When you can watch your thoughts like a neutral observer, you gain the power to choose which thoughts to engage with and which ones to let pass by. Your inner dialogue is also influenced by your environment, including the people you spend time with, the media you consume, and the physical spaces you inhabit. Surrounding yourself with positive influences can make it much easier to maintain a positive inner dialogue, while constant exposure to negativity can make it much more challenging. Remember that changing your inner dialogue is a practice, not a one-time event. You've been thinking in certain patterns for years or even decades, so it will take time and consistent effort to establish new patterns. The key is to be patient with yourself while remaining committed to the process. The goal is to develop an inner dialogue that supports your growth, encourages your efforts, and focuses on possibilities rather than limitations. When you master your inner dialogue, you master your emotional state. And when you master your emotional state, you master your ability to create the results you want in life. Chapter 6. The Science of Emotional Mastery. Your emotions are not random events that happen to you. They are created by your thoughts, influenced by your beliefs, and shaped by your mental patterns. Understanding this fundamental truth is crucial for mental mastery because emotions are the fuel that drives your actions. When you master your emotions, you master your ability to create the results you want in life. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions, allowing their feelings to dictate their thoughts, decisions, and behaviors. They wake up feeling anxious and spend the day in worry. They encounter a setback and allow frustration to derail their progress. They face criticism and let hurt feelings destroy their confidence. This emotional reactivity keeps them trapped in cycles of limitation and prevents them from accessing their true power. The revolutionary insight is that emotions are not caused by external circumstances. They are caused by your interpretation of those circumstances. Two people can experience the exact same event and have completely different emotional responses based on their thoughts, beliefs, and mental frameworks. This means that by changing how you think about situations, you can literally change how you feel about them. Emotions are created through a predictable process. First, something happens in your environment. Then, you interpret that event through the filter of your beliefs and past experiences. This interpretation generates specific thoughts, which trigger specific emotions, which drive specific behaviors. Most people are unconscious of this process, so they believe their emotions are automatic and uncontrollable. But when you understand the mechanics, you can intervene at any point in the chain. The key to emotional mastery is learning to observe your emotions without being controlled by them. Instead of saying, "I am angry," you can say, "I notice that anger is present." This subtle shift in language reflects a profound shift in consciousness. You are not your emotions, you are the awareness that observes them. This distinction gives you the power to choose how you respond, rather than simply reacting automatically. Emotional mastery also involves understanding that all emotions are temporary. No matter how intense an emotion feels in the moment, it will pass if you allow it to. The problem is that most people resist their emotions, which actually makes them stronger and last longer. When you resist an emotion, you create internal conflict, which generates stress and prolongs the emotional experience. The practice of emotional acceptance involves allowing emotions to be present without judgment, resistance, or the need to immediately change them. You acknowledge what you're feeling, breathe into the sensation, and allow it to move through you naturally. This doesn't mean you're resigned to feeling bad. It means you're not adding unnecessary suffering by fighting against what's already present. One of the most powerful tools for emotional mastery is the practice of reframing. This involves consciously choosing a different interpretation of events that serves you better. If someone criticizes you, instead of interpreting it as evidence that you're inadequate, you can reframe it as feedback that can help you improve. If you experience a setback, instead of seeing it as proof that you'll never succeed, you can view it as valuable information that will guide your next steps. Emotional mastery also requires developing emotional vocabulary. Most people have a very limited range of words to describe their emotions, which limits their ability to understand and process them effectively. Instead of just saying you feel bad, you might recognize that you're feeling disappointed, frustrated, overwhelmed, or discouraged. The more precisely you can identify your emotions, the more effectively you can work with them. Physical practices are also crucial for emotional mastery because emotions are not just mental events, they are psychophysical experiences that involve your entire body. Deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, physical exercise, and mindfulness practices can all help you regulate your emotional state. When you change your physiology, you change your emotional experience. The breath is particularly powerful for emotional regulation because it's the one aspect of your autonomic nervous system that you can consciously control. When you're experiencing intense emotions, your breathing often becomes shallow and rapid. By consciously slowing and deepening your breath, you can activate your parasympathetic nervous system and return to a state of calm and balance. Visualization can also be used for emotional mastery. You can visualize yourself responding to challenging situations with calm confidence. Or you can recall times when you felt powerful and resourceful emotions and anchor those feelings in your body. The more vividly you can imagine yourself in empowering emotional states, the more easily you can access those states in real-life situations. It's important to understand that emotional mastery doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending to feel something you don't. Authentic emotions provide valuable information about your needs, values, and boundaries. The goal is to experience your emotions fully while maintaining your ability to choose your response. Developing emotional intelligence involves not only managing your own emotions but also understanding and responding skillfully to the emotions of others. When you're emotionally masterful, you're less likely to be triggered by other people's emotional states, and you're more capable of responding with empathy and wisdom rather than reactivity. The practice of emotional mastery is ongoing and requires patience with yourself. You've likely been operating with certain emotional patterns for years, and it takes time to develop new responses. The key is to celebrate small improvements rather than expecting perfection immediately. One powerful technique for emotional mastery is the creation of emotional anchors. These are specific physical gestures, words, or mental images that you associate with empowering emotional states. For example, you might create an anchor for confidence by pressing your thumb and forefinger together while recalling a time when you felt completely confident. With practice, you can use this anchor to quickly access the emotional state whenever you need it. Another important aspect of emotional mastery is learning to distinguish between primary emotions and secondary emotions. Primary emotions are your immediate, authentic responses to situations. Secondary emotions are the emotions you have about your emotions. For example, you might feel afraid in a challenging situation, which is a primary emotion. Then you might feel ashamed about feeling afraid, which is a secondary emotion. Often, it's the secondary emotions that cause the most suffering. The goal of emotional mastery is to develop what psychologists call emotional agility, the ability to navigate your inner world in ways that serve you and others. This involves being honest about what you're feeling, accepting your emotions without judgment, and choosing responses that align with your values and goals. When you master your emotions, you gain access to incredible power. Emotions like passion, determination, love, and excitement become fuel for achieving your goals. Emotions like fear, anger, and frustration become information that guides you toward better decisions. You stop being at the mercy of your emotional reactions and start using your emotions as allies in creating the life you want. Remember that emotional mastery is not a destination, but a practice. Each day provides new opportunities to apply these principles and strengthen your emotional intelligence. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes to respond to life from a place of emotional wisdom rather than emotional reactivity. Chapter 7. Developing laser-sharp focus. In our modern world of constant distractions, notifications, and information overload, the ability to focus deeply has become a superpower. Those who can maintain sustained attention on what matters most will achieve extraordinary results, while those who succumb to distraction will struggle to make meaningful progress in any area of life. Developing laser-sharp focus is not just about productivity. It's about reclaiming your mental sovereignty and directing your consciousness toward your highest priorities. Focus is fundamentally about energy management. Your attention is your most valuable resource, and wherever you direct it determines what grows in your life. When you focus on problems, problems seem to multiply. When you focus on opportunities, opportunities appear everywhere. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you find more reasons to be grateful. This is not just positive thinking. It's a recognition that your focused attention literally shapes your reality. The challenge is that your brain was not designed for the modern world. Your attention system evolved in an environment where the biggest threat was a predator that might appear suddenly, so your brain developed a bias toward novelty and distraction. This served our ancestors well, but in today's world, this same mechanism makes you vulnerable to every notification, every pop-up, and every shiny object that crosses your path. True focus requires understanding the difference between concentration and attention. Concentration is forcing your mind to stay on something through willpower and effort. Attention is allowing your mind to naturally rest on something that genuinely interests you. Concentration is exhausting and unsustainable. Attention is energizing and can be maintained for hours. The key to laser-sharp focus is learning to cultivate genuine interest and engagement with your chosen activities. The foundation of focus is clarity of purpose. When you're absolutely clear about what you want to achieve and why it matters to you, focus becomes much easier. Your brain naturally allocates more attention to things that are important to your goals and values. This is why people can spend hours engaged in activities they're passionate about without feeling tired, while struggling to maintain attention for even a few minutes on things that don't matter to them. Environmental design is crucial for developing focus. Your physical environment either supports deep focus or constantly undermines it. Creating a space that minimizes distractions and maximizes your ability to concentrate is essential. This might mean putting your phone in another room, using website blockers during focused work sessions, or creating a dedicated space that your brain associates with deep work. The practice of single tasking is fundamental to developing laser-sharp focus. Multitasking is actually a myth. What you're really doing is rapidly switching between tasks, which fragments your attention and reduces the quality of your work. When you commit to doing one thing at a time with your full attention, you enter a state of flow where time seems to disappear and your performance dramatically improves. Meditation is perhaps the most powerful tool for developing focus, because it trains your brain to sustain attention while letting go of distractions. Even just 10 minutes of daily meditation can significantly improve your ability to concentrate throughout the day. The practice involves repeatedly returning your attention to a chosen object, such as your breath, whenever you notice your mind has wandered. This is like going to the gym for your attention muscle. Understanding your natural rhythm is also important for optimizing focus. Most people have specific times of day when their mental energy is highest and their ability to concentrate is greatest. For many people, this is in the morning, but it varies from person to person. By scheduling your most important, focus-demanding tasks during your peak mental energy periods, you can accomplish much more with less effort. The concept of deep work, popularized by researcher Cal Newport, refers to professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. These efforts create new value, improve your skill, and are hard to replicate. Deep work is becoming increasingly rare and increasingly valuable in our economy. Those who can perform deep work will thrive, while those who cannot will struggle. Flow states represent the pinnacle of focused attention. In flow, you become completely absorbed in an activity, losing self-consciousness and experiencing a sense of effortless control. Time seems to slow down or speed up, and you perform at your highest level. Flow states occur when there's a perfect match between the challenge of the task and your skill level, when you have clear goals and immediate feedback, and when distractions are minimized. Technology can be either your greatest ally or your greatest enemy in developing focus. Used mindfully, technology can help you eliminate distractions, track your progress, and access information that supports your goals. Used unconsciously, technology fragments your attention, creates addiction-like patterns, and keeps you in a constant state of partial attention. The key is to use technology intentionally rather than letting it use you. Attention restoration is as important as attention training. Your brain needs regular breaks to maintain peak focus throughout the day. However, not all breaks are created equal. Checking social media or watching videos doesn't restore your attention. It further fragments it. True attention restoration comes from activities like walking in nature, meditation, or simply allowing your mind to wander without stimulation. The practice of mindful transitions can dramatically improve your focus throughout the day. Instead of rushing from one activity to another, take a moment between tasks to center yourself. Set an intention for what you're about to do and clear your mind of lingering thoughts from the previous activity. This simple practice helps you bring fresh attention to each new task. Developing focus also requires learning to say no to distractions, opportunities, and even good things that don't align with your primary objectives. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something important. Protecting your attention means being selective about what you allow into your mental space and ruthlessly eliminating activities that don't serve your highest priorities. The ability to focus is not fixed. It's a skill that can be developed through practice. Like physical fitness, mental fitness requires consistent training. The more you practice focusing your attention, the stronger this capacity becomes. Start with short periods of focused attention and gradually increase the duration as your mental stamina improves. Progressive focus training involves gradually increasing the challenges you present to your attention. You might start by focusing on your breath for 5 minutes, then 10, then 20. You might begin by reading for 30 minutes without distraction, then an hour, then 2 hours. Each increase in duration or intensity strengthens your focus muscle. Understanding the relationship between focus and energy is crucial. Your ability to focus is directly related to your physical and mental energy levels. This means that proper nutrition, adequate sleep, regular exercise, and stress management are not just good for your health, they're essential for your ability to maintain sustained attention. The goal is to develop what researchers call effortless concentration, the ability to maintain deep focus without strain or struggle. This happens when your practice becomes so natural that focus feels effortless, when your mind automatically settles into concentrated states, and when distractions lose their power over you. When you develop laser-sharp focus, you gain the ability to think deeply, solve complex problems, create valuable work, and make significant progress toward your most important goals. In a world where most people are scattered and distracted, the person who can focus has an enormous advantage. Chapter 8. Building unshakable mental resilience. Mental resilience is your ability to bounce back from setbacks, adapt to challenges, and maintain your psychological strength in the face of adversity. It's what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who thrive in difficult circumstances. Building unshakable mental resilience is not about avoiding problems or pretending everything is fine. It's about developing the inner strength to handle whatever life throws at you while maintaining your capacity for growth, creativity, and joy. Resilience is not a trait you're born with. It's a skill you can develop. Some people seem naturally more resilient, but this is usually because they've unconsciously developed resilient thinking patterns and coping strategies through their life experiences. The good news is that you can consciously cultivate these same qualities, regardless of your starting point. The foundation of mental resilience is a growth mindset, the belief that challenges are opportunities for learning and development, rather than threats to your self-worth. When you approach difficulties with curiosity instead of fear, when you see setbacks as feedback instead of failure, and when you view obstacles as training for your mental strength, you transform your relationship with adversity. Resilient people understand that stress and difficulty are not enemies to be avoided, but rather experiences to be navigated skillfully. They don't try to eliminate stress from their lives. Instead, they build their capacity to handle stress effectively. This is similar to physical fitness. You don't build strength by avoiding heavy weights. You build strength by gradually increasing your capacity to handle heavier loads. One of the key components of mental resilience is cognitive flexibility, the ability to adapt your thinking when circumstances change. Rigid thinking creates brittleness. Flexible thinking creates resilience. When your original plan doesn't work, can you quickly generate alternative approaches? When your assumptions prove incorrect, can you update your beliefs? When unexpected events occur, can you find new ways to move forward? Emotional regulation is another crucial aspect of resilience. Resilient people feel their emotions fully, but don't allow intense emotions to control their decisions or behaviors. They've learned to ride the waves of emotional intensity without being swept away by them. This involves developing a larger perspective that allows you to see temporary setbacks within the context of your larger journey. The practice of realistic optimism is central to building resilience. This is not blind positivity or denial of problems, but rather the ability to maintain hope and agency, even in difficult circumstances. Realistic optimists acknowledge challenges while believing in their ability to influence outcomes. They focus on what they can control rather than feeling overwhelmed by what they cannot control. Building mental resilience requires developing what psychologists call explanatory style, the way you explain events to yourself. Resilient people tend to explain setbacks as temporary rather than permanent, specific rather than global, and external rather than entirely personal. Instead of thinking, "I always fail at everything," they think, "This particular approach didn't work in this situation." The concept of post-traumatic growth reveals that people can actually become stronger, wiser, and more capable as a result of facing significant challenges. This doesn't mean that trauma is good or that you should seek out suffering, but it does mean that difficulties often contain the seeds of transformation and empowerment. Many of the most resilient people have faced significant adversity and used it as fuel for their growth. Social support is a crucial factor in building resilience. But it's not just about having people to lean on during tough times. It's about cultivating relationships that challenge you to grow, provide different perspectives, and remind you of your strengths when you can't see them yourself. Quality matters more than quantità. Few deep, supportive relationships are more valuable than many superficial ones. Developing a personal mission or sense of purpose is one of the strongest predictors of resilience. When you have a clear sense of why you're here and what you're working toward, you can endure temporary setbacks because you're connected to something larger than immediate comfort or convenience. Purpose provides the motivation to persist when things get difficult. Physical practices are essential for mental resilience because your mind and body are intimately connected. Regular exercise, adequate sleep, proper nutrition, and stress reduction techniques like meditation all contribute to your ability to handle psychological stress. When your body is strong and healthy, your mind is more resilient. The practice of mental rehearsal can significantly improve your resilience by preparing your mind for potential challenges before they occur. Athletes use this technique to prepare for competitions, but you can use it to prepare for any challenging situation. By visualizing yourself handling difficulties with calm confidence, you create neural pathways that make it more likely you'll actually respond that way when challenges arise. Developing a tolerance for uncertainty is crucial for resilience in our rapidly changing world. Many people create unnecessary stress by demanding certainty in situations that are inherently uncertain. Resilient people learn to be comfortable with not knowing exactly how things will turn out, while maintaining confidence in their ability to adapt to whatever happens. The ability to find meaning in adversity is a hallmark of mental resilience. This doesn't mean rationalizing away pain or pretending that bad things are really good things. It means being able to extract lessons, identify growth opportunities, and sometimes even discover unexpected gifts within difficult experiences. Meaning-making transforms suffering from something that diminishes you into something that can potentially strengthen you. Resilient people also understand the importance of boundaries, knowing when to push through and when to step back, when to persevere and when to pivot, when to be strong and when to seek help. Resilience is not about being invulnerable. It's about being intelligently responsive to the demands of different situations. The practice of self-compassion is essential for resilience because it prevents you from adding unnecessary suffering to already difficult situations. When you treat yourself with kindness during tough times, you maintain your emotional resources and avoid the downward spiral that comes from self-criticism and shame. Building resilience also involves developing what researchers call psychological capital, a combination of hope, efficacy, resilience, and optimism. Hope involves having goals and the motivation and pathways to achieve them. Efficacy is confidence in your ability to succeed. Optimism is the expectation that good things will happen. Together, these qualities create a powerful foundation for navigating challenges. Recovery and renewal practices are essential for maintaining resilience over time. You can't operate at maximum capacity indefinitely without burning out. Resilient people know how to restore their energy through rest, recreation, reflection, and connection with what matters most to them. The goal is not to become immune to difficulty or pain that would actually be a form of disconnection from life. The goal is to develop the skills, perspectives, and inner resources that allow you to move through challenges while maintaining your essential wholeness and capacity for growth. Mental resilience is like a muscle that grows stronger with use. Each challenge you navigate successfully builds your confidence for handling future difficulties. Each setback you recover from proves your ability to bounce back. Each problem you solve adds to your repertoire of coping strategies. Chapter 9. The Power of Visualization and Mental Rehearsal. Visualization and mental rehearsal are among the most powerful tools available for programming your mind for success. These practices work because your brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you visualize something in detail, with full sensory engagement and emotional involvement, you create neural pathways that are virtually identical to those created by actually experiencing the event. This phenomenon has been demonstrated countless times in sports psychology. Athletes who combine physical practice with mental rehearsal consistently outperform those who rely on physical practice alone. Olympic athletes, professional performers, and world-class competitors in every field use visualization not as a supplement to their training, but as an essential component of their preparation. The power of visualization extends far beyond athletic performance. You can use these techniques to prepare for important presentations, rehearse difficult conversations, practice new skills, overcome fears, build confidence, and literally program your mind for success in any area of life. The key is understanding how to visualize effectively, which goes far beyond simply thinking about what you want. Effective visualization is not passive daydreaming, it's active mental training. You're not just watching a movie in your mind. You're stepping into the scene and experiencing it as if it were happening right now. This means engaging all your senses, seeing the visual details, hearing the sounds, feeling the physical sensations, and even including smells and tastes when relevant. The emotional component of visualization is crucial because emotions are what make experiences memorable and impactful. When you visualize yourself succeeding at something, you must feel the emotions you would experience in that moment of success: the joy, pride, excitement, satisfaction, or relief. These emotions create the neural pathways that will help you recognize and create similar situations in real life. One of the most important principles of effective visualization is specificity. Vague visualizations create vague results. If you want to improve your presentation skills, don't just imagine yourself giving a good presentation. Instead, visualize the specific room, the specific audience, the specific content you're presenting, your specific gestures and voice tone, the specific questions you might receive, and the specific way you'll handle them. The practice of mental rehearsal involves visualizing yourself going through an entire sequence of actions or events from beginning to end. This is particularly powerful for preparing for specific situations. If you have an important job interview coming up, you can mentally rehearse arriving at the building, checking in, waiting in the lobby, meeting the interviewer, answering questions, asking your own questions, and leaving with confidence. Future pacing is a visualization technique where you imagine yourself having already achieved your goal and looking back at the steps that got you there. This is particularly powerful for long-term goal achievement because it helps you identify the pathway to success and builds confidence that the goal is achievable. You imagine yourself 1 year from now having achieved your objective, and you reflect on the key decisions and actions that made it possible. Visualization can also be used for emotional regulation and stress management. You can create mental sanctuaries, peaceful, safe places that you can visit in your imagination whenever you need to calm down, recharge, or gain perspective. With practice, you can access these states of calm and centeredness almost instantly by returning to your mental sanctuary. The technique of progressive visualization involves gradually increasing the complexity and challenge of what you visualize. You might start by visualizing yourself handling a simple situation successfully, then progress to more challenging scenarios. This builds your confidence incrementally and prepares you for increasingly difficult real-world situations. Mental rehearsal is particularly powerful for overcoming fears and phobias. By repeatedly visualizing yourself calmly and confidently handling situations that currently cause anxiety, you can literally reprogram your automatic response patterns. This is the basis of many successful therapeutic techniques for treating anxiety disorders. The practice of visualization should be done in a relaxed state because this makes your mind more receptive to the programming. This is why many athletes and performers do their mental training in quiet environments, often with their eyes closed, after doing some form of relaxation or meditation. The more relaxed and focused you are, the more vivid and impactful your visualizations will be. Timing is important for visualization practices. The most effective times are often in the morning, when your mind is fresh and receptive, and in the evening, as you're preparing for sleep. The transitional states between waking and sleeping are particularly powerful because your brain waves are in the alpha and theta ranges, which are associated with heightened suggestibility and creativity. The practice of anchoring can make your visualizations even more powerful. An anchor is a specific physical gesture, word, or mental image that you associate with a particular state or experience. For example, you might create an anchor for confidence by pressing your thumb and forefinger together while visualizing yourself in a moment of peak confidence. With practice, you can use this anchor to instantly access the confident state whenever you need it. Visualization can be used not only for preparing for specific events but also for general personal development. You can visualize yourself as the person you want to become: more confident, more skilled, more resilient, more creative. The key is to visualize not just the end result but also the daily behaviors and attitudes of this ideal version of yourself. The practice of mental time travel involves visualizing yourself at different points in your future, having achieved various levels of success. You might visualize yourself 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 5 years from now, having accomplished specific goals and developed specific qualities. This helps you maintain long-term motivation and makes your goals feel more real and achievable. Group visualization, where multiple people visualize the same outcome together, can be particularly powerful for shared goals. Teams, families, and organizations can use collective visualization to align their intentions and create shared mental models of success. This synchronizes everyone's subconscious programming toward the same objectives. It's important to understand that visualization is not a substitute for action. It's a complement to action. The most effective approach combines vivid mental rehearsal with consistent physical practice. Visualization prepares your mind for success, but you still need to take the actions that will create that success in the real world. The quality of your visualizations will improve with practice. Initially, you might struggle to create clear mental images or to maintain focus for more than a few seconds. This is normal. Like any skill, visualization becomes easier and more effective the more you practice it. Start with short sessions and gradually increase the duration and complexity of your mental rehearsals. Regular visualization practice literally changes your brain structure through neuroplasticity. You're not just imagining success, you're programming your nervous system for success. The neural pathways you create through visualization become templates that guide your behavior and perception in real-world situations. Chapter 10. Developing Mental Discipline and Willpower. Mental discipline and willpower are the engines that drive all other aspects of mind mastery. Without the ability to consistently direct your thoughts, control your impulses, and persist in the face of difficulty, all other techniques and strategies become theoretical knowledge rather than practical power. Developing mental discipline is about building the capacity to do what you know you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. Most people fundamentally misunderstand willpower. They think of it as a fixed trait, something you either have or you don't. In reality, willpower is more like a muscle that can be strengthened through practice and strategic use. Research has shown that people who regularly exercise their self-control in small ways develop greater capacity for self-control in larger, more important situations. The foundation of mental discipline is understanding the difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation is an emotion that comes and goes. Discipline is a practice that creates consistency regardless of how you feel. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going. Relying on motivation alone is like trying to build a house with tools that only work when the weather is perfect. Willpower operates like a finite resource that gets depleted through use, a phenomenon researchers call ego depletion. This is why it's harder to resist temptation later in the day when you've already made many decisions and exercised self-control in various situations. Understanding this helps you structure your day to make important decisions and tackle challenging tasks when your willpower reserves are highest. The key to building sustainable discipline is to start small and build gradually. Trying to transform your entire life overnight through sheer force of will is like trying to run a marathon when you've never jogged around the block. Start with small commitments that you can absolutely keep, and gradually increase the difficulty as your discipline muscle grows stronger. Environmental design is crucial for conserving and supporting willpower. Instead of relying on self-control to resist temptation, it's much more effective to remove temptation from your environment entirely. This might mean keeping junk food out of your house, putting your phone in another room while you work, or surrounding yourself with visual reminders of your goals. The practice of delayed gratification is one of the most powerful ways to build willpower. This involves consciously choosing to postpone immediate pleasure in favor of long-term benefits. The famous Stanford marshmallow experiment showed that children who could delay eating one marshmallow to get 2 marshmallows later had better life outcomes across multiple dimensions decades later. Habit formation is closely related to discipline because habits automate behavior that would otherwise require willpower. When something becomes a habit, it requires little or no conscious effort to maintain. This is why developing positive habits is so crucial. They allow you to maintain beneficial behaviors without constantly depleting your willpower reserves. The concept of keystone habits refers to habits that naturally trigger other positive habits. For example, regular exercise often leads to better eating, better sleep, and better productivity. By focusing on developing a few key habits, you can create positive ripple effects throughout your life without having to manage every behavior through conscious discipline. Mental discipline also involves learning to tolerate discomfort without immediately seeking relief. Modern life has conditioned us to expect immediate comfort and instant gratification, but growth and achievement often require enduring temporary discomfort. Building your tolerance for discomfort increases your capacity to persist through challenges and resist impulses. The practice of mindfulness supports mental discipline by increasing your awareness of impulses and automatic patterns before they control your behavior. When you can observe the urge to quit, to procrastinate, or to indulge in something that doesn't serve you, you create space to choose a different response. Mindfulness turns automatic reactions into conscious choices. Goal setting and tracking provide structure and motivation for disciplined behavior. When you have clear, specific goals and a system for measuring progress, it becomes easier to maintain discipline because you can see how your efforts are contributing to meaningful outcomes. The key is setting goals that are challenging enough to be motivating but realistic enough to be achievable. The power of identity plays a crucial role in discipline. When you see yourself as a disciplined person, you naturally act in ways that are consistent with that identity. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to exercise more," you say, "I'm someone who works out regularly." This identity-based approach makes disciplined behavior feel natural rather than forced. Accountability systems can significantly boost your discipline by adding external consequences to your choices. This might involve working with a coach, joining a group with shared goals, or simply telling someone about your commitments. When you know someone else is aware of your goals and will ask about your progress, you're more likely to follow through. The practice of mental rehearsal can strengthen your discipline by preparing you for situations where your willpower will be tested. You can visualize yourself choosing the disciplined option when faced with temptation, sticking to your commitments when motivation is low, or persisting through difficulty when you want to quit. This mental preparation makes it more likely you'll respond with discipline in real situations. Recovery and renewal are essential for maintaining long-term discipline. Just as your body needs rest after physical exertion, your mind needs restoration after periods of intense self-control. This might involve meditation, relaxation, engaging in activities you enjoy, or simply allowing yourself some guilt-free downtime. Understanding your personal patterns and rhythms can help you use your discipline more effectively. Some people have more willpower in the morning. Others peak later in the day. Some people work better with strict schedules. Others prefer flexible structures. Learning your patterns allows you to align your most challenging tasks with your times of peak mental energy. The compound effect of discipline means that small, consistent actions accumulate into significant results over time. This is why discipline is so powerful. It's not about making dramatic changes overnight, but about making slightly better choices consistently. Over months and years, these small improvements compound into extraordinary results. Discipline is also about learning to do things when they need to be done rather than when you feel like doing them. This means exercising when you're tired, working when you're not motivated, and staying committed when progress is slow. It's about honoring your commitments to yourself with the same seriousness you would honor commitments to others. The ultimate goal of developing mental discipline is to reach a point where disciplined behavior becomes automatic and effortless. When discipline becomes part of your identity and your habits, you no longer have to constantly battle yourself to do what you know is right. This frees up your mental energy for creativity, problem-solving, and enjoying life, while still maintaining the behaviors that support your goals. Mental discipline is not about perfection, it's about consistency. There will be times when you fall short of your standards, and that's normal and human. The key is to get back on track quickly without self-judgment or extended periods of giving up. Discipline is measured not by never failing, but by how quickly you return to your committed behaviors after a setback. Chapter 11. Creating Mental Models for Success. Mental models are the frameworks your mind uses to understand and navigate the world. They are the lenses through which you interpret reality, make decisions, and predict outcomes. Most people operate with mental models that were unconsciously absorbed from their environment, often limiting their potential and creating unnecessary obstacles. Mastering your mind requires consciously designing mental models that support your success and align with the reality you want to create. Think of mental models as the software that runs your mental computer. Just as outdated software can slow down a computer and create glitches, outdated mental models can create inefficiencies in your thinking and limit your ability to see opportunities and solutions. The difference is that you can consciously upgrade your mental models to serve your goals and aspirations. Successful people in every field have developed mental models that help them think more clearly, make better decisions, and take more effective action. Warren Buffett uses mental models about value investing that help him identify profitable opportunities. Elite athletes use mental models about performance that help them execute under pressure. Great leaders use mental models about human behavior that help them inspire and motivate others. One of the most powerful mental models is the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. A fixed mindset assumes that your abilities, intelligence, and talents are static traits that cannot be significantly developed. A growth mindset assumes that these qualities can be cultivated through effort, learning, and persistence. This single shift in mental model can transform how you approach challenges, setbacks, and opportunities for development. Another crucial mental model is the abundance versus scarcity framework. A scarcity mindset operates from the assumption that there is not enough opportunities, not enough success, not enough resources to go around. This creates competition, fear, and limitation. An abundance mindset operates from the assumption that there is more than enough for everyone, which creates collaboration, generosity, and expansion. The mental model of personal responsibility versus victim consciousness is equally transformative. Victim consciousness focuses on what others have done to you, what circumstances have prevented your success, and what forces are working against you. Personal responsibility focuses on what you can control, what actions you can take, and how you can respond to circumstances in empowering ways. Process versus outcome thinking represents another fundamental mental model shift. Outcome thinking focuses primarily on results, which can create anxiety because outcomes are often partially outside your control. Process thinking focuses on the actions and behaviors that lead to results, which creates empowerment because processes are within your control. When you focus on perfecting your processes, outstanding outcomes become inevitable. The mental model of possibility versus probability can dramatically expand your vision for what's achievable. Probability thinking asks, what's likely to happen based on current conditions? Possibility thinking asks, what could happen if conditions changed or if I took different actions? Both perspectives have their place, but most people are overly constrained by probability thinking. Systems thinking versus linear thinking is a mental model that can help you understand complex situations and create lasting change. Linear thinking follows cause and effect chains in straight lines. Systems thinking recognizes that everything is interconnected and that small changes in one area can create ripple effects throughout the entire system. This is particularly important for personal development because lasting change often requires adjusting multiple interconnected elements. The mental model of learning versus knowing can keep you growing throughout your life. A knowing mindset assumes that you already understand what you need to understand and seeks to confirm existing beliefs. A learning mindset assumes that there is always more to discover and remains open to new information and perspectives. In our rapidly changing world, the learning mindset is essential for continued relevance and success. Creating empowering mental models begins with examining your current ones. Look at areas of your life where you feel stuck, frustrated, or limited, and ask yourself what beliefs and assumptions might be creating these experiences. Often, you'll discover that you're operating with mental models that served you in the past, but are no longer appropriate for your current goals and circumstances. The process of installing new mental models involves both intellectual understanding and emotional integration. You need to understand the new framework logically, but you also need to feel its truth and relevance to your life. This is why stories, metaphors, and personal experiences are so powerful for shifting mental models. They engage both your rational and emotional systems. Visualization can be particularly effective for integrating new mental models. You can imagine yourself operating from your new framework, making decisions based on your updated beliefs, and experiencing the results that flow from this new way of thinking. The more vividly you can imagine yourself thinking and acting from your new mental model, the more quickly it will become automatic. Language plays a crucial role in reinforcing mental models because the words you use shape your thoughts and perceptions. When you change your language, you begin to change your mental models. Instead of saying, "I have to," you might say, "I choose to." Instead of, "I can't," you might say, "I'm learning how to." These linguistic shifts reflect and reinforce new ways of thinking. It's important to understand that mental models are tools, not truths. They are useful frameworks for understanding and navigating reality, but they are not reality itself. This means you should hold your mental models lightly, remaining open to updating them when you discover more effective frameworks or when circumstances change. The most powerful mental models are those that increase your agency, your sense of control, and influence over your circumstances. Models that help you see more options, recognize more opportunities, and take more effective action are generally more useful than models that emphasize limitation, restriction, or powerlessness. Some mental models are more context-dependent than others. A mental model that serves you well in your career might not be appropriate for your relationships, and vice versa. Part of mental mastery is learning to consciously choose the most appropriate mental model for each situation, rather than operating with a one-size-fits-all approach. The compound effect applies to mental models just as it does to other aspects of personal development. Small shifts in your mental frameworks can create enormous changes in your results over time. This is because mental models influence every thought, decision, and action, so improving them creates positive effects that multiply throughout your life. Mental models also influence what you notice and what you ignore. If you have a mental model that opportunity is scarce, you'll tend to overlook possibilities that are right in front of you. If you have a mental model that opportunities are abundant, you'll start noticing them everywhere. This is why upgrading your mental models can literally change the world you experience. The goal is not to find the one perfect mental model, but to develop a toolkit of useful frameworks that you can apply appropriately to different situations. Mental flexibility, the ability to shift between different mental models as circumstances, requires a hallmark of advanced thinking and a key component of mastering your mind. Chapter 12. The Art of Mental Programming Through Self-Talk. Your self-talk is the ongoing conversation you have with yourself throughout the day, and it is one of the most powerful forces shaping your reality. Every word you speak to yourself is programming your subconscious mind, influencing your beliefs, emotions, and behaviors. Most people are completely unconscious of this internal dialogue, allowing their minds to run random, often negative programming that works against their success and happiness. The average person has between 60, 0, and 70, 0 thoughts per day, and research suggests that approximately 80% of these thoughts are negative and 95% are repetitive. This means that most people are unconsciously running the same negative mental programs day after day, year after year, and then wondering why their lives don't change. Understanding and mastering your self-talk is perhaps the most direct way to reprogram your mind for success. Your subconscious mind believes everything you tell it, whether it's positive or negative, true or false, helpful or harmful. It doesn't have the ability to evaluate or filter information the way your conscious mind does. It simply accepts and acts upon whatever programming it receives. When you repeatedly tell yourself that you're not good enough, that success is hard, or that you always mess up, your subconscious mind works to make these statements true. The power of self-talk lies in its cumulative effect. A single negative thought doesn't create lasting change, but thousands of negative thoughts repeated over months and years create deeply ingrained patterns that shape your entire experience of life. Conversely, consistently positive and empowering self-talk can literally rewire your brain for success, confidence, and achievement. Effective self-talk programming requires understanding the difference between affirmations and declarations. Affirmations are positive statements about what you want to become true, while declarations are statements about what you choose to be true right now. Both have their place, but declarations tend to be more powerful because they reflect immediate ownership and commitment rather than hopeful thinking. The language patterns you use in your self-talk are crucial because different words create different neurological responses. Words like should, must, and have to create stress and resistance, while words like choose, want, and get to create empowerment and enthusiasm. Words like always and never create rigid thinking patterns, while words like sometimes and often create flexibility and possibilities. One of the most important aspects of programming through self-talk is replacing limiting statements with empowering ones. Instead of, "I'm terrible at public speaking," you might say, "I'm developing my public speaking skills." Instead of, "I never have enough money," you might say, "I'm learning to create financial abundance." These shifts may seem subtle, but they create profound changes in your subconscious programming over time. The timing of your self-talk is particularly important because your mind is more receptive to programming during certain states. The moments right after waking and right before sleep are especially powerful because your brain waves are in the alpha and theta ranges, which are associated with heightened suggestibility and reduced critical thinking. This is why many successful people have specific self-talk routines during these transitional periods. Emotional engagement is crucial for effective self-talk programming. Your subconscious mind responds much more strongly to thoughts that are charged with emotion than to those that are emotionally neutral. When you speak to yourself with passion, conviction, and feeling, you create much stronger neural pathways than when you simply repeat words mechanically. The practice of mental scripting involves creating detailed internal narratives about your ideal future self and your desired outcomes. Instead of just thinking about your goals, you create elaborate self-talk scripts where you describe yourself living your ideal life, achieving your objectives, and embodying the qualities you want to develop. The more detailed and emotionally engaging these scripts are, the more powerfully they program your subconscious mind. Questioning techniques can be particularly powerful forms of self-talk because questions direct your mental focus and activate your problem-solving capabilities. Instead of making statements like, "This is impossible," you can ask questions like, "How can I make this work?" Or, "What would need to change for this to become possible?" These questions program your mind to look for solutions rather than focusing on problems. The practice of mental rehearsal through self-talk involves talking yourself through successful performances before important events. Athletes do this by internally describing perfect execution of their skills. Business people do this by mentally walking through successful presentations or negotiations. This type of self-talk programming helps create neural pathways that support optimal performance when it matters most. Reframing negative experiences through self-talk is a powerful way to extract empowering meaning from challenging situations. Instead of telling yourself, "This is terrible and I'm a failure," you can reframe the experience by saying, "This is teaching me valuable lessons that will make me stronger and wiser." This doesn't deny the difficulty of the situation, but it programs your mind to look for growth opportunities rather than reasons for defeat. The concept of identity-based self-talk involves speaking to yourself as the person you want to become rather than the person you currently are. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to become more confident," you say, "I am a confident person who handles challenges with calm assurance." This type of self-talk helps you embody your desired identity more quickly. Consistency is absolutely crucial for programming through self-talk. Your current mental patterns were created through thousands of repetitions over many years, so changing them requires persistent effort over time. The key is to make empowering self-talk a habit rather than an occasional practice. Even a few minutes of conscious self-talk programming each day can create significant changes over weeks and months. It's important to make your self-talk believable and emotionally authentic. If you're currently struggling with self-doubt, immediately jumping to "I am supremely confident" may create internal resistance. It's often more effective to use bridge statements like "I am developing greater confidence every day," or "I am learning to trust myself more and more." The practice of catch and redirect involves becoming aware of negative self-talk patterns as they occur and immediately replacing them with more empowering alternatives. This requires developing moment-to-moment awareness of your internal dialogue and the discipline to intervene when you notice limiting patterns. Over time, this practice helps break old mental habits and install new ones. Environmental cues can support your self-talk programming by triggering positive internal dialogue throughout the day. This might involve placing reminder notes where you'll see them, setting phone alerts with empowering messages, or creating visual cues that prompt you to engage in positive self-talk. The goal is to increase the frequency of empowering internal dialogue. Advanced self-talk programming involves creating different voices or perspectives within your internal dialogue. You might develop an inner coach who offers encouragement and strategic guidance, an inner cheerleader who provides enthusiasm and motivation, and an inner wise person who offers perspective and calm wisdom. By consciously cultivating these different internal voices, you create a powerful support system within your own mind. The ultimate goal of mastering self-talk is to reach a point where empowering internal dialogue becomes automatic and effortless. When your default mental programming supports your success, happiness, and growth, you no longer have to consciously manage every thought. Your mind becomes your greatest ally rather than your biggest obstacle. Chapter 13. Mastering the flow state of peak performance. The flow state is a psychological phenomenon where you become completely absorbed in an activity, losing self-consciousness and experiencing effortless concentration and peak performance. In flow, action and awareness merge, time perception alters, and you operate at your highest level of capability. Understanding and cultivating flow states is essential for mind mastery because these states represent the optimal functioning of human consciousness. Flow was first systematically studied by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who discovered that people across all cultures and activities report remarkably similar experiences when performing at their best. In flow, the chatter of self-doubt disappears. Fears and anxieties fade away, and you become fully present in the moment. Your performance becomes effortless, yet extraordinary, creative, yet precise. The characteristics of flow state include complete concentration on the task at hand, clear goals and immediate feedback, a balance between challenge and skill level, a sense of control without forcing, loss of self-consciousness, transformation of time perception, and the experience of the activity becoming intrinsically rewarding. These elements work together to create an optimal experience that is both deeply satisfying and highly productive. One of the most important conditions for flow is finding the sweet spot between challenge and skill. If a task is too easy relative to your skill level, you'll experience boredom. If it's too difficult, you'll experience anxiety. Flow occurs when the challenge level slightly exceeds your current skill level, creating what researchers call beneficial stress that engages your full attention and capabilities. Clear goals and immediate feedback are essential for flow because they keep your mind focused on the present moment and provide a constant stream of information about your performance. In flow, you're not wondering what you should be doing or how well you're doing. Both are crystal clear from moment to moment. This clarity eliminates mental distraction and allows for total engagement. The preparation phase is crucial for entering flow states. Elite performers typically have specific routines they follow before important activities, designed to focus their minds, manage their energy, and create optimal mental conditions. These routines might include visualization, breathing exercises, physical warm-ups, or mental rehearsal. The key is creating a consistent process that signals to your mind and body that it's time to perform. Environmental factors significantly influence your ability to enter flow. Minimizing distractions is essential because flow requires sustained attention. This might mean turning off notifications, finding a quiet space, or creating physical conditions that support deep engagement. Many people also find that certain types of music or ambient sounds can facilitate flow states by providing a consistent auditory backdrop. Physical readiness plays a crucial role in flow because optimal mental performance requires optimal physical functioning. This includes being well rested, properly nourished, and adequately hydrated. Many flow experiences are disrupted by physical discomfort or fatigue that diverts attention away from the task. Taking care of your body is taking care of your mind's capacity for peak performance. The concept of attention in flow is particularly important because flow represents the optimal deployment of your attentional resources. In normal consciousness, your attention is often scattered across multiple concerns: past, regrets, future worries, current distractions. In flow, all available attention is channeled into the present moment and the task at hand, creating extraordinary focus and clarity. Breathing patterns often change during flow states, typically becoming deeper and more rhythmic. This is both a result of increased focus and a tool for maintaining flow. Conscious breathing practices can help induce flow by calming the nervous system, increasing oxygen to the brain, and anchoring attention in the present moment. Many traditional practices use breath as a gateway to altered states of consciousness. The role of challenge escalation in maintaining flow is important to understand. As your skills improve, you need to increase the challenge level to continue experiencing flow. This creates a natural progression where flow experiences drive skill development, which requires new challenges, which create new flow opportunities. This upward spiral is one reason why flow can be addictive in a positive way. Mental techniques for entering flow include visualization, where you mentally rehearse optimal performance, concentration practices, where you train your ability to sustain attention, and mindfulness, where you develop present moment awareness. These practices strengthen the mental muscles needed for flow and make it easier to access these states when you need them. Different activities and individuals may have different pathways into flow. Some people access flow through physical activities like sports or dance. Others through mental activities like writing or problem solving, and still others through creative activities like music or art. Understanding your personal flow triggers helps you design your life to include more of these optimal experiences. The paradox of control in flow is that you feel completely in control while simultaneously feeling effortless. This isn't the kind of control that comes from forcing or trying hard, but rather the control that comes from being perfectly aligned with the demands of the moment. It's like surfing a wave. You're in control, not by dominating the wave, but by flowing with it skillfully. Flow states can be cultivated through deliberate practice, which involves consistently working at the edge of your current abilities with full attention and intention to improve. This type of practice is more likely to produce flow than casual or mindless repetition because it maintains the challenge-skill balance that flow requires. Recovery and renewal are important for sustaining your capacity for flow over time. Flow states are energizing while you're in them, but they can be depleting afterward if you don't allow for proper recovery. This might involve rest, reflection, or engaging in different types of activities that replenish your mental and physical resources. The integration phase after flow experiences is when the insights, skills, and benefits gained during flow become consolidated into your normal functioning. Taking time to reflect on what happened during flow, what worked well, and how you might recreate similar conditions helps you become more skilled at accessing these states. Group flow occurs when teams or groups enter collective flow states, creating extraordinary collaboration and performance. This requires additional elements like shared goals, equal participation, close listening, and a balance between individual contributions and group cohesion. Understanding group flow can help you create these conditions in teams and relationships. The long-term benefits of regular flow experiences extend far beyond improved performance in specific activities. People who experience flow regularly report higher life satisfaction, increased creativity, enhanced resilience, and stronger intrinsic motivation. Flow experiences also contribute to what psychologists call psychological capital, the inner resources that help you thrive in all areas of life. Obstacles to flow include self-consciousness, perfectionism, fear of failure, trying too hard, insufficient challenge, and mental distractions. Learning to recognize and address these obstacles is part of developing flow skills. Often, the barrier to flow is not lack of ability, but rather mental interference that prevents you from accessing abilities you already possess. The ultimate goal of understanding flow is not just to perform better in specific activities, but to live more fully and authentically. When you operate in flow more frequently, you experience life with greater intensity, satisfaction, and meaning. You become more aligned with your true capabilities and more connected to the present moment, which is where all real life happens. Chapter 14. Breaking through mental barriers and limitations. Mental barriers are invisible walls that exist only in your mind, but feel absolutely real in your experience. They are the beliefs, fears, and assumptions that convince you that certain things are impossible, that you're not capable enough, or that you don't deserve success. These barriers are often more limiting than any external obstacle because they prevent you from even attempting what might be possible. Breaking through mental barriers is essential for mind mastery because it's often these internal limitations, not external circumstances, that keep you from achieving your true potential. The most insidious aspect of mental barriers is that they often feel like facts rather than beliefs. When you believe you're not smart enough, not talented enough, or not deserving enough, these beliefs don't announce themselves as opinions, they feel like truth. This is because mental barriers are usually supported by selective evidence that your mind has collected over time to confirm these limiting beliefs. Most mental barriers are formed during childhood, when your brain was most impressionable and you had limited ability to critically evaluate information. A teacher's offhand comment, a parent's frustrated outburst, or a peer's cruel observation could have created beliefs that still limit you today. The child who was told they weren't good at math might still avoid anything involving numbers as an adult, never discovering their true capability. One of the most common mental barriers is the belief in fixed ability, the idea that your intelligence, talents, and capabilities are set in stone. This belief creates a ceiling on what you attempt, because if you believe you can't improve, there's no point in trying. The antidote is understanding neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to create new connections and develop new capabilities throughout life. What feels like a permanent limitation is often just a current skill level. Fear-based barriers are particularly powerful because they engage your survival mechanisms, making the barrier feel like a matter of life and death. Fear of failure prevents you from taking risks that could lead to breakthrough success. Fear of success can be equally limiting, as it may carry concerns about increased responsibility, expectations, or changes in relationships. Fear of judgment keeps you playing small to avoid criticism or rejection. The imposter syndrome is a mental barrier where you believe you're not qualified or deserving of your achievements, and that you'll eventually be found out as a fraud. This barrier prevents you from fully owning your success, taking credit for your accomplishments, or pursuing opportunities that match your true capabilities. Imposter syndrome affects high achievers particularly strongly because their success contradicts their internal beliefs about themselves. Perfectionism creates barriers by setting impossible standards that guarantee failure and disappointment. When you believe that anything less than perfection is unacceptable, you often avoid starting projects, completing tasks, or sharing your work. Perfectionism masquerades as high standards, but actually prevents excellence by creating paralysis and preventing the iterative learning that leads to true mastery. Social conditioning creates barriers by installing beliefs about what's possible or appropriate for people like you. These might include gender-based limitations, socioeconomic barriers, age-related assumptions, or cultural restrictions. While some of these barriers may have basis in external reality, they often persist long after circumstances have changed, or limit you far more than actual external constraints would. The scarcity mindset creates barriers by convincing you that there's not enough success, opportunity, or abundance to go around. This leads to competitive thinking where someone else's success means less for you. Small thinking, where you don't dare want too much. And limited thinking, where you focus on what you lack rather than what's possible. Scarcity barriers often manifest as beliefs like, "People like me don't become wealthy," or "There are no good opportunities left." Breaking through mental barriers begins with identifying them, which can be challenging because they often operate below conscious awareness. One effective method is to examine areas where you feel stuck, frustrated, or consistently unsuccessful despite genuine effort. These patterns often indicate the presence of mental barriers that are sabotaging your progress. The process of barrier identification involves honest self-examination and a willingness to challenge beliefs you may have held for years. Ask yourself questions like, what do I believe is impossible for me? What do I think I'm not good enough to achieve? What assumptions am I making about my limitations? What would I attempt if I knew I couldn't fail? These questions help bring unconscious barriers into conscious awareness. Once you've identified a mental barrier, the next step is to examine its validity. Just because you've believed something for years doesn't make it true. Just because you have evidence supporting the barrier doesn't mean it's an absolute limitation. Look for counterexamples, people who have succeeded despite similar perceived limitations. Question the source of the belief and whether it's still relevant to your current circumstances. Reframing is a powerful technique for breaking through barriers by changing how you interpret your limitations. Instead of, "I'm not good at speaking," you might reframe to, "I'm developing my speaking skills." Instead of, "I always fail," you might say, "I'm learning what doesn't work so I can find what does." These reframes don't deny reality, but open up possibilities for growth and change. Gradual exposure is often necessary for breaking through fear-based barriers because attempting to overcome them all at once can trigger overwhelming anxiety. Start with small steps that stretch your comfort zone without creating panic. If you're afraid of public speaking, you might start by speaking up in small meetings before working up to larger presentations. The use of role models can be particularly effective for breaking through barriers because they provide proof that what you want to achieve is possible. Find people who have overcome similar limitations or achieved similar goals, and study their journeys. This helps weaken the belief that your barriers are insurmountable and provides strategies for your own breakthrough. Visualization techniques can help break through barriers by allowing your mind to experience success before it happens in reality. When you vividly imagine yourself overcoming limitations and achieving your goals, you create neural pathways that support these new possibilities. The key is to visualize not just the end result, but also the process of breaking through the barriers. Taking action despite the presence of barriers is crucial, because action often dissolves limitations that seemed real in imagination. Many barriers exist primarily in anticipation. When you actually attempt what you thought was impossible, you often discover that the barrier was largely illusory. This is why courage acting despite fear is so powerful for breaking through limitations. Support systems can provide external perspective and encouragement when your internal barriers feel overwhelming. Friends, mentors, coaches, or support groups can help you see possibilities you can't see yourself and provide accountability for breakthrough actions. Sometimes hearing someone else's confidence in your abilities can help you question your own limitations. The process of breaking through barriers often requires multiple attempts and approaches. A barrier that seems solid from one angle might have weak points when approached differently. If direct confrontation doesn't work, try gradual exposure. If logical analysis isn't effective, try emotional or intuitive approaches. Persistence and creativity in your approach often lead to unexpected breakthroughs. It's important to understand that breaking through one barrier often reveals others that were hidden behind it. This is normal and part of the growth process. Each barrier you overcome builds your confidence and skill for tackling the next one. What matters is not avoiding all barriers, but developing the capability to move through them consistently. The goal is not to eliminate all mental barriers permanently, but to develop the awareness and skills to recognize when you're being limited by beliefs rather than reality, and to have tools for moving through these limitations when they arise. Mental barriers are a normal part of the human experience, but they don't have to control your life or limit your potential. Chapter 15. Integrating mind mastery into daily life. The ultimate test of mind mastery is not what you can achieve during meditation, visualization sessions, or quiet reflection, but how consistently you can apply these principles in the midst of daily life's challenges, distractions, and demands. Integration is where theory becomes practical power, where knowledge becomes wisdom, and where temporary insights become permanent transformation. This final chapter focuses on weaving all the elements of mind mastery into a sustainable daily practice that creates lasting change. Integration begins with understanding that mind mastery is not a destination but a practice. You don't reach a point where you've mastered your mind completely and never need to apply these principles again. Instead, mind mastery is an ongoing process of conscious choice, continuous refinement, and daily application. The goal is to reach a level where these practices become so natural that they operate automatically, even under stress. The foundation of integration is creating what researchers call implementation intentions, specific plans for when, where, and how you'll apply mind mastery principles in real-world situations. Instead of having vague intentions to think more positively, you create specific plans like, when I notice negative self-talk, I will immediately reframe it with an empowering statement. Or, when I feel overwhelmed, I will take 5 deep breaths and visualize myself handling the situation calmly. Morning routines provide one of the most powerful opportunities for integration because they set the mental tone for your entire day. A well-designed morning routine might include visualization of your ideal day, affirmations that reinforce your desired identity, meditation to center your mind, and intention setting to focus your attention on what matters most. The key is consistency doing these practices every day until they become automatic. Micro-practices throughout the day help maintain your mental state and reinforce your mind mastery skills. These might include taking conscious breaths before important conversations, using waiting periods for gratitude practice, or doing brief visualizations before challenging tasks. The goal is to turn everyday moments into opportunities for mental training rather than letting them pass unconsciously. Evening reflection creates a powerful feedback loop that accelerates your development. Take time each evening to review your day through the lens of mind mastery. Where did you apply these principles successfully? Where did you fall into old patterns? What did you learn about yourself? How can you improve tomorrow? This reflection helps consolidate the day's lessons and programs your subconscious mind for continued growth. Stress and challenge become testing grounds for your mind mastery skills rather than obstacles that derail your progress. When difficult situations arise, they provide opportunities to practice emotional regulation, reframing, positive self-talk, and maintaining focus under pressure. The more you can maintain your mental mastery during challenging times, the stronger these skills become. Relationship interactions offer rich opportunities for applying mind mastery principles. You can practice emotional regulation during conflicts. Use empathetic listening to understand others' perspectives. Apply reframing to see situations from multiple viewpoints. And use conscious communication to express yourself clearly and kindly. Your relationships often improve dramatically as a side effect of your own mental development. Work situations provide daily opportunities to apply focus techniques, stress management skills, positive self-talk, and goal visualization. Whether you're dealing with difficult colleagues, challenging projects, or high-pressure deadlines, these situations become laboratories for testing and strengthening your mental skills. The more successfully you apply mind mastery at work, the more confidence you build in these abilities. Decision-making becomes more skillful when informed by mind mastery principles. Instead of making decisions based purely on emotion or external pressure, you can access your inner wisdom. Consider multiple perspectives, visualize potential outcomes, and choose actions that align with your values and long-term goals. This leads to better decisions and greater satisfaction with their outcomes. Physical health and mental mastery are intimately connected, so integration includes paying attention to how your mental practices affect your body and how your physical state affects your mental capabilities. Regular exercise, adequate sleep, proper nutrition, and stress reduction all support your ability to maintain mental clarity and emotional balance throughout the day. Technology can either support or undermine your mind mastery integration, depending on how you use it. Conscious use might include apps that remind you to practice gratitude, guided meditations during breaks, or inspirational content that reinforces positive thinking. Unconscious use includes mindless scrolling, constant notifications, and consuming negative content that undermines your mental state. Creating environmental cues helps make mind mastery practices more automatic. This might include placing reminder notes where you'll see them, setting phone alerts for brief mindfulness breaks, or organizing your space in ways that support focus and calm. Your environment should reinforce your commitment to mental excellence rather than constantly challenging it. The compound effect applies powerfully to mind mastery integration. Small, consistent applications of these principles create cumulative results that far exceed what you might expect from individual practices. A few minutes of daily visualization, consistent positive self-talk, and regular emotional regulation practice can transform your entire life experience over months and years. Social influence plays a crucial role in integration because the people you spend time with either support or undermine your mental mastery practices. Seek out others who are also committed to personal growth and mental excellence. Their example and encouragement will make it easier to maintain your own practices, while their challenges and questions will help you deepen your understanding. Flexibility in application is important because different situations may call for different mind mastery tools. Sometimes you need deep focus, other times emotional regulation, and still other times creative visualization. Developing a mental toolkit and the wisdom to know which tool to use when is part of advanced integration. Measuring progress in mind mastery integration involves both subjective and objective assessments. Subjectively, you might notice increased calm, greater confidence, improved relationships, or enhanced life satisfaction. Objectively, you might track specific behaviors, like how often you catch and reframe negative thoughts, how consistently you maintain morning routines, or how effectively you handle stress. The goal of integration is to reach a point where mind mastery becomes your natural way of being rather than something you have to remember to do. When positive thinking, emotional regulation, clear focus, and conscious choice become your default responses to life, you've successfully integrated these practices into your identity. Integration also involves sharing your knowledge and experience with others, which deepens your own understanding while contributing to their growth. Teaching, mentoring, or simply modeling these principles in your daily interactions helps reinforce your own learning while creating positive ripple effects in your community. The journey of integration never truly ends because life continues to present new challenges and opportunities for growth. Each new level of success, each life transition, and each unexpected event provides fresh opportunities to apply and deepen your mind mastery skills. The practices that served you at one stage of life may need to evolve as you grow and change. Remember that integration is not about perfection, but about progress. There will be days when you forget to apply these principles, when old patterns resurface, or when you respond unconsciously rather than consciously. What matters is not avoiding all setbacks, but returning to conscious practice as quickly as possible when you notice you've strayed. The ultimate fruit of mind mastery integration is living a life of greater intentionality, authenticity, and effectiveness. When you consistently apply these principles, you become the conscious creator of your experience, rather than the unconscious victim of circumstances. You develop unshakable confidence in your ability to handle whatever life brings, while maintaining your commitment to growth, contribution, and fulfillment. Your mind is indeed your most powerful tool, and mastering it is perhaps the most important skill you can develop. Through consistent application of these principles, you join the ranks of those who live from choice rather than chance, who create their reality rather than simply reacting to it, and who use the full power of their consciousness to create lives of meaning, impact, and joy.